Bakers Union, Blackpool born and bred, really proud to be here with us today. Up to you, Ian.
Hey, sisters and brothers of Blackpool! Has everybody noticed the sun is shining on us, but the clouds are over the Opera House? Because the sun always shines on the righteous, you know. I mean, obviously this weekend, the Tories are here to hold their gloat conference. They're going to talk about levelling up. They're going to talk about the Northern Powerhouse. But I would encourage every one of them, don't drink your champagne tonight. Walk round the streets of Blackpool and look at what your policies have done. Look at the homelessness that sleep in the doorways. Look at the poverty that people have to endure. And then consider this, because coming down the track is massive tax increases on people in work, massive increases in fuel prices, which is going to drive even more households to use food banks. And let's also send a message loud and clear to Starmer and the Labour Party. Yep. Let's send a message. If you don't stand up for the working class, we won't come out and support and vote for you. Because I'll tell you, don't send gentle messages to P&O about possible repercussions. Stand up and say, under a Labour government, we will make sure hire and fire is ended and employers like you are driven out of business. That's what we want to hear.
I'm protesting against the disestablishment of the welfare state. It's not just the NHS, which is the flagship. It's an erosion of all our rights and privileges and our security, and they are taking great risks with the people of Britain, while the people in the Winter Gardens are not exposing themselves to any such risks, quite the opposite. And I really think that the failure to manage the British economy is verging on the criminal. It really is. It's beyond anything I've ever seen in my life before, and it's so important that people act up.
I'm here today to protest to the Tories about what's going on in our society. In particular, it's the privatisation of the NHS. Despite the way they like to present it, this is the end of the National Health Service if this goes ahead under the Health and Social Care Bill. That's the main purpose of me being here.
I've come from Liverpool, where the P&O workers have just been made redundant, and that sort of extreme behaviour on behalf of the privatisers is just escalating. And the more they get away with, the braver, bolder they seem to be. So we really need to get back to a decent society again.
Well, I'm Jenny Hurley, I'm from Protect Chorley and South Ribble Hospital campaign. We're here with a group of North West NHS campaigners. We're currently fighting against the Health and Care Bill, which will essentially sell off the NHS. We're already seeing the actual changes. The only way you're going to get a privatised NHS is by creating a two-tier healthcare system. So your waiting lists are being pushed out further and further. Services are getting cut. You can't access them. It's all for a cost. And basically, if you've got the money, you can go private for the same care. It's not just about having private companies in the NHS. It's the private health insurance that's on top of it. It is a money-making scheme. The restructuring of it, it's already gone to 42, been split into 42 separate entities. So we don't have an NHS anymore. There's no national in it. We've got a health service, but it's 42 different little companies, all with their own budget. We've got the Health and Care Bill is going through now, and we want it stopped. I'm sick of Labour not opposing this. We've got trade unions that are not opposing this, and we need them all to turn round and stop talking about having this amendment put into the Health and Care Bill and that little bit taken out. The Health and Care Bill needs scrapping, and the whole NHS needs renationalising from top to bottom now. You know, I mean, we're here because if you lose this, It's fine if you've got the money to pay for services. If you haven't got money, people will die. So that is why we're here.
Afternoon, Blackpool. It's so nice to see the gang all back together. Although, I cannot tell you how pissed off I am that we have to be. We did this for well over a decade. For us, fighting fracking, trying to stop this dangerous industry coming to our town or anywhere in the UK or the world. And we succeeded time and again. Our council said no in 2015, Westminster overturned that. We got the moratorium in 2019, and now Steve Baker and 26 Tories are trying to tell us we could go for this again. And yet you ask yourself the really important question, why? Why now? What has changed? The only thing that changed was opportunity. And what is that opportunity on the back of? It's on the back of death and suffering and war in Ukraine and Russia. That's what it's on the back of. It's not because it suddenly got safe or it's suddenly an attractive process. This is because there's a war and some salivating, profiteering Tory thought, I could probably make some money there.
Hi, I'm Tina Rothery. I'm one of the anti-fracking nanas. We started here in Lancashire, and I've been fighting fracking for 11 years now. I'm shocked and stunned that the Tories could sink so low as to use the opportunity of war and suffering in Russia and Ukraine to try to reintroduce fracking. And for all the local residents who finally thought we might have been done with years and years of protest, who've now had to come back out. And as much as we all love each other and love catching up, this is not what we planned on spending our retirement years doing, you know? So I'm pretty stunned they even came to Blackpool, you know. They've not been here since 2007, the Tories. Since then, we have now taken the rank of the lowest, most poverty ridden in the country, and they chose to come here when it's their policies and their austerity that brought us to our knees. Our hospital, you know, I was in there for 10 hours in A&E, but that was nothing compared to the guy after me who was there for 50 hours. You know, our town is falling apart. Housing is appalling. There's not enough of it to go round. Our fuel bills are going through the roof. Nothing is insulated. There is every reason not to come to Blackpool if you're a Tory, other than if you want to rub our faces in it. And it kind of feels like that, you know, like we can do anything. And it's just cruel. It's just cruel. And it's the opportunism about the fracking that got me. I don't think they've got a cat in hell's chance of actually bringing it back in. Nothing's changed. The facts are all still the facts. It's still unworkable in the seismology in our country. We are still too densely populated. If it's taken out of UK soil, it is not UK gas. It's taken out by American companies, Australian companies, and then it's sold. You know, we export gas, so no one's getting a reduction in their fuel bills. So all of those things are still true. So what changed? A war changed. People are dying and suffering, and that was the opportunity they took. So yeah, pretty gutted really. But yeah, it's good to get it out.
I'm part, as well as these people, of a group called Green New Deal Rising. We're a group of young people aged 16 to 35, and we're campaigning for a UK and a global Green New Deal. We're here to expose the Conservative government's inaction on climate change, and we're basically, one of our key techniques is to go up to MPs and confront them in a polite way initially, and ask them about their failings.
I just think it's really important that also we call them out on specifically like what's going on, because they're approving new oil fields like the Abigail oil field when we've been specifically told don't approve any new oil fields if we want to reach the targets of the Paris Agreement of 1.5 degrees C of additional warming. They're subsidising fossil fuel companies with billions of pounds. Companies like Shell aren't paying any tax. The UK is one of the most profitable countries for fossil fuel companies, particularly with North Sea oil, and they're basically gambling with our futures. We're young people. I think there's a lot of rhetoric in the climate change movements like think of your children and stuff, like we're the people whose future these people are destroying. And we just can't let them get away with it, because it is still possible to do something about it. There is still hope, but these people need to act, and they need to do it like now. So we want to just bring as much attention to that as possible.
And I feel like young people are usually excluded from like politics, and we feel like we can't really do anything about it. So I feel like it's really important we come to conferences like these to kind of speak to MPs, challenge them, expose them, talk about the climate crisis, and kind of show people what they're really like and whether they would support the Green New Deal bill, which is really important right now.
Young people need to be involved in politics, and that's why we're here. And we just got to spread the message and like make people realise that all of these things directly affect our lives and our futures, and not just our lives, but the lives of people that haven't got a voice here in the global north that can't be here today to challenge Tory MPs. Like we need to represent young people across the world, not just in the UK.
Look what they've done throughout the COVID crisis, making us pay for the crisis while they give their contracts to their mates. Look what they're doing to the NHS. Again, winding down the NHS and trying to give the assets to their mates in big pharma and in private concerns. We know that that's what they're doing. But now they think they can get away with even more. Look at what they did, as others have mentioned, to the P&O workers yesterday, taking no care whatsoever about what the legal rights of workers are, just saying we don't care, we're going to sack you, we're going to throw you on the scrap heap. We face a race to the bottom, where if we're not careful, the only work you're going to be able to get is on the lowest possible wages. They want us to go back to the 30s, where people were fighting each other, a race to the bottom to get the jobs that they could on the lowest possible income. And we've got to say no. And that's why it's so important that we had this event today and we've got the event tomorrow. And I really want to congratulate everybody, all the local campaigning groups, and in particular the Trades Council, for making sure this happened.
So I'm Ian, I'm from the Socialist Party. I'm here really because we've got the Tory Party conference just over there, local government conference. You know, the government has been putting through all sorts of attacks on workers recently. They're increasing the cap on gas prices, raising the national insurance contribution to people, amongst others. And we're also seeing employers take advantage of that. You know, the disgraceful sacking of the entire crews of P&O ferries yesterday. We've seen victimisation of trade union activists like Max McGee, Tesco shop steward from my union, Usdaw. You know, we're in this situation where working class people, we have to fight back. We have to fight back against the Tories, and we have to fight back, unfortunately, against Labour councils that have suspended striking bin workers in Coventry as well. You know, we need working class fighters standing to challenge these people. We need his own party, his own representatives, and we're here to support trade unions that are fighting back against this. And many trade unionists are fighting for decent pay rises, fighting against attacks like what's happening in P&O, and we're here to show solidarity with that and to help build those campaigns into a movement that can not just fight to win gains here and there for people, but get rid of this rotten government we got now and start about moving society in a direction that actually works for ordinary people, not for just those at the top of society.
So we've come to Blackpool, Tory Party Spring Conference, a mini one, and we're here to welcome them and to give them hell, basically. I want to ask them about this Russian money. They don't seem to want to talk about it for some reason. Not sure why. But I've been offering them some rubles and I've been throwing some around. We've seen all sorts here today. Dominic Raab, Liam Fox, Bring Back Fox Hunting, Isaac, Grant Shapps, George Eustace to everyone else. And yeah, it's been a pretty good day. We've got to be doing this. There is absolutely so much at stake. You know, our forefathers, our grandparents, they all fought for the freedoms we have today. And this Tory party, they're taking them from us. There's no guns, there's no tanks, there's no bullets. They're just taking it.
I'm here today as a local, totally against the Tories. I'm against everything that they stand for, I'm against everything that they do. I don't like the fact they've got no morals, they can't even lie straight in bed. Just everything about the Tories, I'm against it.
And how do you feel about them coming to Blackpool today?
I think they've got a cheek, really. We're one of the most deprived towns in the country, and here they are flouncing about, costing us all this money in policing and everything, which are all underfunded anyway. I just think they've got a cheek to go anywhere, really. I really do.
I'm here because I'm a retired nurse and I'm supporting a campaign at Chorley to keep our A&E open. So I'm hoping that it has some impact on the public and they can see what damage it's been doing to the health service, and we don't want the bill to go through which will actually privatise it all.
We are outside our hospital every single Saturday fighting for an NHS. This week, I'm going to miss it this week, but it will be week 311. 16th of March, I want everyone down at Chorley Hospital. We are fighting for our NHS, it's our 6th year anniversary. Everybody get down there. 16th of April, sorry, did I say March?
Save the NHS. For 60 years, we had a world-class NHS, funded by our taxes, for everybody, providing the best treatments. Then they brought in the cuts, and now the icing on that foul cakes of the cuts is the health and care bill. Write to your MP. Tell your MP to stop the health and care bill. We want the proper NHS, a universal service for everybody.
Are you happy that they've come to your local areas today?
No, I'm very surprised.
I am Labour. No. I am Labour. I think it's a load of crap. Get him out!
I'm Rachel. I have come up from London today to join people in anti-Tory protests because I think it's shameful that they think that having their springtime conference here is a good idea when there are serious issues that need urgent addressing, such as the amount of people relying on food banks in Blackpool and the sense that the community is looking after its own and doing the government's work for them whilst they have their free lunch and train rides up to town. I wanted to know what the people of Blackpool really thought about it rather than trying to read about it on the non-existent news. All we can do is to use our voice in whatever way that we can. Tories aren't very good at listening, and sometimes you've just got to find a space where you can build a community and know that you're not the only person that are feeling the frustrations, and through building communities, that's when we can implement real change. By even when we're in a community, we can have differences, but we can have real conversations.
They're going out for an expensive meal tonight, and we are donating. The people are donating food to starving people. That is why we're here. We need them out. We need them out now. We need an opposition that is starting to oppose them, because we've got the same Tory lights in at the moment. We need different people in. Vote Tusk, vote Pals, anything that is not a mainstream party anymore.
Hi, I'm Sandra. I've come over from Morecambe. I'm very concerned about the fracking issue, which is very local to Blackpool. I'm part of a Just Stop Oil campaign, which is, we have made a demand to Boris Johnson to ask him to stop issuing any further licences for the extraction of all fossil fuels. And Just Stop Oil is a campaign of civil resistance, non-violent civil resistance. We will be blocking oil refineries and petrol forecourts until we actually get the demand realised, because we've hosted COP. Boris Johnson was the host of COP in November, and we were promised net zero. It is a climate emergency and we cannot go backwards. People are under the mistaken belief that if the oil and gas comes out from the UK, it will be cheaper and they won't have these amazingly high bills that are going to hit us on the 1st of April. However, that is a pack of lies. It doesn't matter where the oil and gas come from, they are They are not nationalised. They are in private hands. They are in the hands of the big oil companies, which are global, and therefore any oil and gas that comes out from the UK waters or mainland goes to the global market, and it goes for the price, the global price. Therefore, please do not believe that you are going to get it cheaper if it comes out from Blackpool.
I'm Kyle, I'm 17, I'm in college at the minute. I work part-time on weekends, and like with like the way the Tories are, like I think it's just like ridiculous the way they treat like younger people. Like we get paid we get like less than half pretty much of the full like wage of an adult. As a student we can work like just as hard as an adult, and we want to, you know, make money so we can save, so we can, you know, go buy things, so we can go buy a car, we can get like a mortgage, get a house, and we can't do that kind of thing because of how little we get paid. On like an ordinary job, you know, if like you're working at a shop or a takeaway or something, I don't believe it should be based off your age. It's not a job where you need like qualifications. If you're getting paid more for a job, it's because you're qualified to do that type of job. If you're a doctor, you're getting paid because you went to university for years to learn how to become a doctor. If you're working at a shop, you shouldn't be getting paid half as much as the other guy. You know, as like, you know, 15, 16 above, like, we should be getting paid equally. Like, I don't believe it's fair. I think that, you know, everybody should be equal in all of this. Like, you know, if we don't make a presence, we're not going to be heard. Like, and, you know, some of my mates are even like, oh, it's just a bit of a laugh, innit? But it's like, well, no, because I'm actually passionate about this. Like, I've been woken up, and relatively recently, to how our government is behaving and what it's like. And it's wrong. And for what is effectively, you know, a minor, a 17-year-old, while I was 16, at 15 age, to wake up and realise how horribly run our country is and the way our government are. It's all about greed and money and power, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be about taking care of your people and taking care of just people as a whole. And at such a young age, I've had to be woken up to this nightmare and have to realise and figure out how to grow up in this, like, crisis. It's ridiculous, and it's terrible. And people like, oh, Boris, yeah, oh, he's a funny guy, I like Boris. It's like, well, no, just because he's funny don't make him a good prime minister. People are voting for Tory, even people who would have the ideals of a Labour Party person or any other party. They have those ideals, but they're voting Tory because they have all these things. But if they looked into the history of politics, they understood how they work, they'd understand they're liars and they manipulate us as the general public. And I don't believe that we're treated fairly by them. If people looked into it from a young age, would understand further on, the generations would understand better and make better decisions.
The government says they've learned the lessons of COVID. Well, what lessons did they learn? Their first lesson was that they could get away with murder. I don't use that word lightly. It's not a precise legal term, but I don't know what else to call it. 2 years ago, their scientific advisors told them on the 12th of March there was no option left. They had to lock down. Johnson waited for 11 days before locking down. The consequence of waiting was that 30,000 people died who did not have to die. Those deaths are at his door. If you don't want to call it murder, think of another word. But whatever it is, they're responsible. That was the first lesson they learned. They handed the test and trace system to a new outfit that they set up under Serco, gave it billions of pounds, and it couldn't do the job. It was 60 times less efficient than public health officers were in actually finding people who had the disease. So that's what they did with that.
I'd just like to say thank you for everybody else, to all the affiliates that have turned up today. We have to turn up and we have to challenge. We have to be the opposition to the Tory parties. They're not levelling up, they're levelling down. They're taking Britain down on a slippery slope downwards. The Blackpool Filed and Wired Trades Union Council represents over 10,000 union members in local branches of all the major unions and also several smaller ones. On the protest, we are supporting a local coalition of community groups who are very worried about the effects of government policies on the NHS, the environment and other issues. The three key messages we've got are about Britain needs a pay rise, the NHS and fracking, and also what's just come up in the last couple of days about P&O ferries, and about how apparently the government can't do anything about it, which I find remarkable, that companies are going to be allowed, because they'll be the first ones, they won't be the last. There'll be many more that follow on if they get away with doing what they've done.
Oh, I'm John. I'm here. We had a few protests, the protest tomorrow, but we had a few stalls in the square here, so I turned up to see what was going on.
What do you think about the Conservatives going to Blackpool? Do you think it's the right thing for them to be here of all places?
Pros and cons in it. I mean, pros, it's supposed to inject £2.5 million into the local economy, which in these times, that's got to be a good thing. But there again, there is the cost of it, the policing, which I suspect we council taxpayers will be picking up.
We've had quite a few years from Brexit to coronavirus to Afghanistan that's way beyond a local area, and it sort of highlights the need for the world to be more joined together and accepting of what's happening. Yeah.
Do you think that our government are helping to achieve that at the moment?
I find it hard to believe any but government could. Yeah, I do.
Is what annoyed me with Boris was one, that the party is supposed to not be at number 10, and there's family dying in Blackpool with the COVID and all this lot, and also number 2 is like, can't they get more closer to Russia? You know, United, you get more money from them. America's giving up money to them. What have we given them? Nothing at the moment, really truthful. Just food and stuff and aeroplane. They need that fly zone to be able to go over and protect their own country. Because Ukraine, they've got babies who's dying over there. I've got 3 kids of my own, newborns and stuff. It's not nice, really. And we need to get people over there fighting with them. Okay, polluting, do what he wants to do, you know, but we need they need help.
What do you think about the fact that the government have chosen Blackpool to come to celebrate the quotes achievements at the moment? Do you think it's right that they've come to one of the most impoverished places in the country to drink champagne?
Well, not really, no. Blackpool's a lovely area to come to. I love Blackpool. I've been here like 7 years. I'm happy here, and really, not really, no. Because at the end of the day, like I said, Christmas time, Boris had a party in number 10, and he said he didn't, but he did. You know what I mean?
Hi, I'm Amish. I'm here in Blackpool to support the people who are protesting against the Tory party conference, which is happening this 2 days now. It's always a challenge to know what to do, you know, about the many problems we face, like, you know, poverty, homelessness, destruction of the NHS, you know, kind of move towards the kind of even more precarious situation like you might have say in the US or whatever, where people are, you know, break an ankle and that can be bankruptcy or, you know, destitution or whatever, and so on and so on. Destruction of the environment, war, inequality, you know, there's all these things that we're fighting against. And it is always a challenge, of course, to know what to do about that, you know, and it's kind of like the Tories are one part of that, but there's a deeper thing that's got to happen, and it's kind of like I'm not really here to protest the Tories, if you know what I mean. I'm here to support the people who are here now, who are, without necessarily being kind of engaged with that myself, if that makes sense. So I'm looking at, you know, how do we build something deeper that that does something that's deeper than just fighting the Tories.
We made a big fuss a while ago in November about fire and rehire. We contacted our MPs. One of them actually agreed to speak to us, the others wouldn't. We sent lots of letters to MPs. There was a vote in Parliament on a private member's bill. The government voted it down. They've no intention of creating a level playing field for workers. That's another reason why we're here. We're here to let them know that we know. We're watching them. The Trades Council jumped in, I'm the secretary, it jumped in when the TUC pulled out. We had been involved obviously, but we were just turning up to support the TUC. So the big problem was that a march had been organised and agreed, and then it became nothing. So with hardly a week to go, we suddenly had to talk to the police, talk to the council, agree a new march route, and get the things that we wanted to do accepted. We only just did it because for a march you have to have 6 days notice to get it accepted that you'll be able to do it without any bother from the police. Always better to get to know in advance you're not going to have a problem. We did it, and that was within 24 hours we got provisional acceptance, and it's been, I've been around for a while, but it was 24 hours like no other in my life. And then we had to meet with the silver commander of the, as you can see, there's police with machine guns, there's police horses. They have got a ring of steel around this place, and they wanted to know 3 police officers, 2 council officers, and myself. Then Jenny Hurley turned up, so that was really good. It actually wasn't hard work in the end. It was just the worry about it. Then we had all the social media to do and all the posters, and to get them together. And we were working across a coalition with several groups, and we had to keep everybody happy and everybody on board. So that itself created work. The people of Blackpool are not in a good place. We have some of the poorest wards in the country here in Blackpool. They feel let down by politicians, they feel let down by Labour politicians, and they've deserted them in the last election. They sort of voted for the Conservatives but now feel let down. The levelling up doesn't seem to be happening, does it? And they feel let down by that, deserted by the Labour, deserted by the Tories, and then it almost appeared deserted by the trade unionists. So that's why we're here today. The Trades Council are the local trade unionists, local branches coming together to work on local issues, and we knew that feeling. The people in London didn't seem to realise that or think about it. If we hadn't have been here, there could have been a vacuum that there was no protest, there was no objection to what's going on inside the Winter Gardens. That's the narrative, that's it. And when people feel deserted, they turn to strange solutions, like the Rust Belt people in the United States turned to Trump, turning to people who bring hate and division. And we didn't want to see that. So we felt it was really important to fill that vacuum. So we filled it, and we can say that we were here. The voice of protest has been our voice. It's been a local voice, and it's been stronger because of that. So we're quite proud of what we've done.
We were told that we could save our A&E until the next business case came along. The day before we were told our A&E was safe, announced the business case that Lancaster Hospital will be shut and that Preston Hospital will be shut, and that one of the plans was to build one hospital in the middle. That is going to put even more pressure on Blackburn. It's going to put even more pressure on Blackpool. Lancaster and above will be without services. We cannot get into hospitals now. It does not matter if they build a shiny new hospital if you can't get through the door.
Obviously, one of the issues that many speakers have talked about is the scandalous squeeze on workers' living standards. And I would say, yes, of course, the government should intervene and stop and provide protection. And we should fight to win a living wage. But you have to point out that the obscene profits of the energy companies, it's not just about cutting their profits. We should bring these companies back under public ownership so they can operate in the public interest.
And whether you're an ambulance driver, you work for the Royal Mail, you work in a shop, you work in a bar, irrespective of what industry you're employed in, irrespective of what union you're organised by, if they get away with this, it's coming to you. In every single area, it's every individual's fight, it's every union's fight, and it's every MP's fight.
I want a future for my children and all children. Therefore, we must achieve zero carbon emissions by 2030. Please.
Don't you care about your son's future? Because even though, yes, the lives of every single person who's going to be affected by this crisis are important, that's possibly what's going to hit him the most. And I think sometimes you need that perspective of actually it's going to hit you, it's going to hit your family, it's going to hit everyone.
You don't treat people fairly. You don't look at yourself like you look at the person next to you.
Boris Johnson needs to spend at least 1 month living in the conditions that people have to live in rented accommodation in Blackpool, living on universal credit without the £20 top up, and see how far he gets.
Resign.
Your time's up, mate. Either you deliver very, very quickly now, or your time's up. They'll chuck you out. Mind about us. You've had it, mate. Think about it.
And Boris Johnson, I probably wouldn't shout anything, I'd punch him.